Hello there. Well, this video is going to be a short one because I try to talk about things that maybe you haven't heard before from wrestling fans or those who, I'm only a beginner, but those who are wrestling fans, or something you may not have heard in ages. So it's very hard to come up with something with one of my favourite superstars of all time, Stone Cold Steve Austin, even though I like him for the memories, not if he came out these days. So this one is the old school WWE versus the modern WWE. This is the second one for that one? Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Kevin Owens. How is each character inferior to the other? And how is each character superior to the other? And which is the best overall performer or athlete? Well, Stone Cold Steve Austin was a bit more callous and cold in my opinion. So the thing is when you look at it, so I didn't really look into it. Just didn't really care. I just knew I liked this guy, or I found it very entertaining. So that's what mattered to me. But it's clear as day. Stone Cold Steve Austin was. They claim that he was enacting this, he was taking the persona of this serial killer as well as this name. It's like, Austin isn't like the $1 million man, and then Steve, his real name, and then mixed them all together to create his character. But looking back, I realized there was a heavy influence of, because of the time he was out, and the Terminator. There was an Austin 316 t-shirt when I was a child that I totally forgot about. It was and it had Stone Cold, and it had half of his face, half down the middle, and then the other half on the right hand side, was the left hand side, was the Terminator. JR called him the Bionic Redneck, and if you listen to his theme, even my coach has confirmed that. He goes, "Yeah, it's just common sense." He said the theme is very similar. Like you hear the old "Joo joo 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 joo." I got my dog here. He's like, "Oh, kept up with the ball." Hey, Gus. Joo 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 joo. Good boy, Gussie. Good boy, Gus. Good boy, Gussie. Anyway, as you can see, I'm not stone cold towards dogs. Look, he's all over my lap now. Anyway, yeah, half Stone Cold Steve Austin face, half Terminator face, and there's and then Steve Austin's theme music goes, the glass smashes, psh, doom 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 doom. And you look at the whole posture when he's walking to the ring, it's like real still and like real robotic. And he looks to the side of that every now and then. That's what Arnold Schwarzenegger used to house act when he was the Terminator. So, yeah. Oh, Kevin Owens, yeah, I know they like to make a lot of noise in the wrestling world, but in reality, those who yell and scream a lot and stuff like that are usually the make a lot of noise but can't really back it up, or they back it up a bit and then you respond and they're like, hey, what? That I thought that. But then, like, the ones that are like, they let you know how they feel with their words and their body language, but they're not yelling and screaming at you. They're usually the ones you don't really want to mess with. So Stone Cold was a bit more like that, except for when he came with what he became a real bully afterwards. After a while, and that character. So much so he became the leader of the alliance. And then Kevin Owens, yeah, they must ask because of the stunner. No, I knew this years ago just by his promo style and the fact that he had no respect for authority. But it was not just no respect, like, he'd go do his thing and then people would tell him to do this, and he'll give him his opinion or something, like some other guys. Um, he'll just go and randomly just headbutt them, or he'll go out of his way to do things that are just like to shove it in the face of the boss, which is exactly what Stone Cold used to do. Stone Cold Steve Austin used to do. So he's just a modern day version of that. And Kevin Owens has stated very clearly in one of his interviews that he bumped into Stone Cold Steve Austin at an airport. Oh, you know, wrestlers bump into each other all the time. And Stone Cold Steve Austin wasn't a superstar at the time, and Kevin Owens was. And so he goes, "Hey Steve, have you got any advice for me?" And Steve gave him some advice and stuff like that. But then, yeah, he has the reputation because he's a knowledge seeker. So yeah, good on old Kevin Owens for doing this. He went out and questioning. He wouldn't. Austin brought this up in an interview, and they said that when he met Kevin Owens would not stop asking questions. He'd hound him with question after question after question. And there was one thing that just Stone Cold said, "I'll just say something, and then I'll just give him something and go away because I want to catch my plane." Because he was catching a plane to go on holiday somewhere. I'll just tell him this and then I'll go. So he just gave him a piece of advice. And so Kevin Owens, when he received that piece of advice, he's like, "Wow." And then he's applied that piece of advice for ever since he's heard it his whole career so far. And that piece of advice was, your character is a loudmouth. Never stop running your mouth. And so Kevin Owens started running his mouth during the matches, like with every single move. "I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and you're not going to like it." And he's doing it at the same time. As for before, he was always running his mouth, but it was in a promo or in a microphone or something like that. But when they got to the ring, his pretty much his mouth was shut and they'll just wrestle. But he took that loudmouth thing into every move that he did in the ring. Nearly in the ring. This is what Kevin Owens said on an interview. So, yeah, so who do I think would win? Who do I think is superior? I think Kevin Owens is different than Stone Cold in the area where he's not afraid to ask for help. Like if someone's been dealt a hard hand, and then so has he, and then they're both suffering from it, and then they find a way where they can both help each other out. Kevin Owens is more, let's help each other out. So I think he's superior to Stone Cold in that area. But where I think he's inferior is his whole angle with, always challenging Shane McMahon. And in my opinion, it's this: the reason why he's doing it with Shane McMahon is it's a respectful thing. It's a respectful thing because in the 90s, when Stone Cold Steve Austin was the biggest star, and he remained a star through into the 2000s too, but he wasn't like the big star. He was the big star who won like all these championships in the late 90s, but in the early to mid 2000s, he was still a star, but not like the man or anything. Others were. And Vince McMahon was in his late 40s, early 50s back then, and he was still in quite good shape, not for matches, but he could take a few bumps like finishing moves or stunner or headbutt or something like that to show the utmost, as a result of the utmost disdain of Stone Cold. But if Kevin Owens was to go up to do that to Vince now, Vince McMahon is a grandfather, and he's, I don't know how old, but he's 70 something, and he only comes back every now and then. If he was to do it to him now, the whole crowd would boo him for how dare you lay your hands on someone that age. And yeah. And winners are adored in the end. They're usually hated if they're like rub it in the face of others, but if they stay at the top for so long, you get to the point where people love them. And that's what's happened with Vince McMahon. They love his legacy, even though they may not agree with all the decisions he makes now. They still love the fact that years and years of service to the business. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that. I'm trying to have good stuff, but I'm trying to say things that either one, you haven't heard before, or two, you don't hear very often. But you may have heard it before, but I haven't heard that in a while. But everything else I could say about Stone Cold is like it's everything that all the other fans would know about him. So who do I think is better? Just for memory's sake, I like Stone Cold because he. I've never really been a fan of the Kevin Owens character. But when I was a child, I was a fan of the Stone Cold character. I don't think I'd be a fan if he came out now, but he brings back good memories from when I was a child. So this is Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Kevin Owens, old school WWE versus modern WWE. So don't forget to smash that subscribe with the Stone Cold Stunner, and perhaps hit that like with a fight Steen fight or fight Owens fight. And don't forget to live your life victoriously. D-Man, signing out.